We begin this broadcast with a fresh claim that's coming in from the United States. Now, the United States has carried out fresh strikes on Iranian missile infrastructure near the Strait of Hormuz, and this becomes extremely significant because the U.S. this time has used powerful 5,000-pound deep-penetrator munitions. According to the U.S.'s Central Command, the strikes targeted hardened coastal sites that were housing anti-ship cruise missiles that posed a direct threat to international shipping in the region. So this time it is the United States which is saying that it has used powerful 5,000-pound deep penetrator munitions, and it is carrying out strikes, and it is targeting missile infrastructure very close to the Strait of Hormuz. U.S. has made this claim. The CENTCOM has put out this detail currently. And what does this mean? Because this is an operation that is aimed at securing one of the world's most critical maritime routes as tensions continue to escalate across the Gulf. The Strait of Hormuz, viewers, as all of you know, remains the key flashpoint with global concerns mounting over energy supplies and also on freedom of navigation. Earlier, it was Donald Trump who made a flip-flop over the claim that he himself made, seeking help from allies to police the Strait of Hormuz. When he was snubbed, he said, "We do not need any help." And now the U.S. is striking Iran's missile infrastructure, missile launchers very close to the Strait of Hormuz. That's the latest coming in. And we have some more information at this point of time because it is the claim made by Iran. This is a warning coming in from Tehran. Again, it is Iran's parliament speaker who has said that the situation in the Strait of Hormuz will not return to its pre-war status. Now, this remark signals a potential long-term shift in the security dynamics around the Strait of Hormuz, around the world's critical energy corridor. Srinjoy, you see how both the sides, be it the Americans or the Iranians, there is no let-up. And the Strait of Hormuz has become the epicenter. After allies snubbed Donald Trump, he made a flip-flop. Now the U.S. is saying that it is carrying out strikes very close to the Strait. Iran is saying that even after the war, things will not go back to what it was. What do we make of, how things could change or how things are changing now that Strait of Hormuz is an epicenter, and how it has an overarching impact on global energy markets?
Both sides realize that the Straits of Hormuz are very important. Now the Americans want to keep it open. Now the way to do it is to ensure that the Iranians can't hit ships, warships, or tankers going through the Straits of Hormuz, which is why the strikes happened. Now, these were placements. These were places where the Iranians may have had anti-ship cruise missiles. Now, if that is so, if they've hit all these places where the anti-ship cruise missiles were there, it makes it easier for the ships to go through. But we don't know how successful this has been, how effective it has been. Because assuming that you bomb this entire place, and there are still anti-ship cruise missiles there, there are still soldiers there who will dig themselves out and aim these anti-ship missiles at tankers going in, then there is serious trouble ahead. On the other hand, if that entire area has been hammered, then of course it will be easier. But even then, there are 2 or 3 other issues that have to be considered. There could be drone attacks, and that can be very worrying. The drone attack doesn't have to be from the coastal areas. The drone attack can happen from fairly deep inside Iran, and that would be a worry for all these tankers. Right. And drone attacks, can be as deadly as they have been. Right. So that's another worry. Besides that, even after all this, there will be some ship owners, there will be captains of some ships who will be hesitant to go towards the Straits of Hormuz, because who knows, there can be one rogue drone, there can be one anti-ship missile, and that's the end of it.
Right. But Donald Trump has been claiming that U.S. has a decisive edge in this war. U.S. has been winning. Iran's navy is decimated. Iran's missile capabilities have been weakened. And now we are seeing how the tension continues to escalate in the Strait of Hormuz. Despite putting out that appeal and being snubbed, Donald Trump says, we do not need anybody's help. But let's also talk about numbers as they're coming in. And Srinjoy, I want you to stay with us because we'll talk about the flip-flops of Donald Trump. But before that, let's tell our viewers about what the oil prices are looking like. A day before the war started, that is on the 27th of February, the oil prices were anywhere at around $72.97 per barrel. But now it's the 19th day of the war. It is the 18th of March. And oil continues to remain above the $100 per barrel mark. And today we are seeing it anywhere around $101.15 per barrel. We'll also show you a comparison of how there has been a whiplash in oil prices. From the 9th of March, oil went up to $114 per barrel. Then it came down. We have been seeing a swing, $89. You saw $86 on the 11th. Then it again went up to, on the 12th of March, it went up to $100 per barrel. On the 13th of March, it went up to $102 per barrel. And since then, it has been staying, toggling anywhere between 100 and above 100. Here on the 16th of March, it is $100. On the 17th, it was $101.99, and now today, as of 18th of March, it is standing at above 100. So from the 12th of March, it hit the $100 mark, and after that, oil prices remain above 100, and this is a concern for the U.S. president. But now let's tell you about what the president of the United States has been saying. So U.S. President Donald Trump has not been clear about the objective of the war, and we are seeing the impact in America with the resignations coming in. On some days, he calls it an excursion, and on some days, he calls it a war. We are going to make you listen in to some of the flip-flops of Donald Trump as they've been happening by the day, and sometimes even by the hour, and sometimes even in the same press conference. Let's listen in.
This was just an excursion into something that had to be done. We're getting very close to finishing that. We did a little excursion. We had to take this little few weeks. You never like to say too early you won. We won the bet. In the first hour, it was over. We've already won in many ways, but we haven't won enough. It's an excursion that will keep us out of a war. Maybe we shouldn't even be there at all.
Sharath Kohli is joining us on the phone line. Mr. Kohli, you've been speaking to us about how the oil markets continue to remain on the edge. It's the 19th day of the war. Multiple flip-flops and statements coming in from the President of the United States. Once again, oil continues to remain above $100 per barrel. As per your analysis, what's the road ahead? What should, India be bracing for?
Well, greetings again. The situation is extremely volatile, and you've been witnessing that crude oil prices, which are hovering at this point of time at about $103 per barrel, they seem to be swinging up and down in terms of the statements coming from both the sides. When Iran says that we are adamant, we are not going to allow anything from Strait of Hormuz, obviously we see price trembling. And when there is a statement which will show some sign of positivity or Strait of Hormuz opening up, we find that the prices ease. But overall, I think in a situation of war, in a situation like this where there's a bit of a stalemate, I think it is very hard to predict long term. But short term, yes. If the supply remains disrupted for a longer time, obviously the pressure on various nations which are dependent on oil. And I must mention here that the cost of per barrel oil in India it's not 103 for India. When it lands here, there's shipping costs, there's insurance costs, and there are other costs as well. We are actually paying about $136 landed cost, as we call it, for a barrel of crude. So I think it is going to put pressure on the Indian trade balance. Our import bill is going to shoot up. Our forex reserves are going to be leaking out further. And of course, it will increase the input costs for the industry. Now, this input cost is for the paints, chemicals, fertilizers, automobiles, all the sectors which use energy. So I think the global order in terms of economy is also changing here. Either the world has to be prepared for a higher crude oil price in the longer run, or something drastic will have to be done. I mean, what President Trump keeps saying that, I'm going to open it. He's used some very heavy bombers today around the Strait of Hormuz. I mean, if that works and with Larijani dead, you never know, things might open up as well. So I think we just need to take one day at a time. I'll stop myself from making a very long-term forecast, but definitely the position as of now, if it remains like this, we can see the crude oil prices shooting up from here, undoubtedly.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Kohli, for joining us on this broadcast. So here, there are experts and analysts who are stopping short of making any kind of long-term forecast. But for now, because the situation continues to remain volatile, because even today the United States is now, striking areas very close to the Strait of Hormuz, targeting the missile infrastructure of Iran. And with the death of Ali Larijani, there is volatility that will continue. But